I'm talking about the most important shifts through summer of 2021, talking about the Sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars. This is going to be great, quick, deep dive, less than 10 minutes. I'm going to hit all the important factors. Go ahead and register also for a free web class that I've done that shows the important astrology for each of the 12 signs, including yours, through October of this year. Mainly it includes Jupiter and Saturn retrograde cycles and their relationship to these other transits. It's totally free. Go ahead and register for that. Also, make sure to subscribe to the channel to get more updates like this. Of course, like, ring the bell, and make a good comment on this video if you like it. So we start with the Sun, which is moving from Gemini to Cancer to Leo. So as I'm recording this in July 10th, 11th, the Sun is in Gemini, which means that we're focusing on details, communication, curiosity, finding new things, ideas. We live in a very Gemini world now with media and online stuff. But then on July 16th, the moon moves into Cancer. Now this is where all those details need to be integrated into the heart, right? We gather a lot of stuff, but how does it feel to us? Does it deepen our connection to the heart and our intuition? Or does it sort of take us away from that deeper instinctive intuition? The Sun is where we're placing a lot of emphasis for a given amount of time. So it's like a 30-day cycle. So that cycle of emphasis on communication and details of Gemini on July 16th moves for 30 days into Cancer, where it's, again, this emphasis now on how much are we integrating? How much does it connect us to our heart? All this stuff that we're curious about. So based on that, the Sun then moves into Leo on August 15th, right? And then we take that heart space and integration and then use that to really have a focus. So when the Sun goes into Leo August 15th, then that's a 30-day cycle of taking what's most meaningful in our heart and then radiating that outward, right? The sign of Leo. And when the Sun goes into Leo, it's a time of great individual clarity and purpose. So these transits of the Sun through Gemini, Cancer, Leo are really important through much of the summer. Then the Sun winds up going into Virgo September 15th, where we take that power of the kingdom that we're radiating out, and then we organize it into many different tasks in the sign of Virgo. So this summer we also have a lot of Mercury shifts. Mercury is currently in Gemini as I record this in mid-July, but it moves, and so as it's in Gemini, it's really bringing a lot of discrimination and the capacity to understand what's real, what's not real, hopefully, and to get that story straight in our heads. Mercury has been retrograde between Gemini and Taurus for several months. So it stays in Gemini until the end of July. In fact, July 26th, the moon then goes into Cancer, where it's going to be until August 8th. So it's a pretty fast transit, Mercury going through Cancer. So from July 26th until August the 8th, Mercury in Cancer is more emotional, trying to give voice to our feelings and emotions, but also a little confused about how to express ourselves. It'll be more of an intuitive kind of details. So it's good for creativity, writing, other sorts of things, but we may have a hard time delineating our truthful story. So while Mercury is in Gemini until July 26th, really focus on what you think and get that story straight so that when Mercury goes into Cancer, you can really feel that story deeply in your heart. And then when it leaves Cancer on August 8th and goes into Leo, you'll be able to really act on that story with a lot of clarity and vision and power. And of course, these transits also coincide a lot with the Sun's transits as well, really invigorating that story. Mercury is the minister, the one who gives voice to the edicts of the king. So these are important. And then, as I say, Mercury will be in Leo until August 26th. And so when Mercury goes through Leo from August 8th until the 26th, again, it's still moving pretty fast. It really gives voice to our vision and our purpose. So Venus is actually very close to Mars for most of the summer, in the same signs for the most part. They're pretty close together, but Venus starts to separate from Mars around the middle of July, once Venus goes into Leo. So again, Venus is in Cancer until about July 16th or 17th. So until then, there's a deep sensitivity to your relationships. There can feel like a kind of nurturing capacity, but there's also a kind of restlessness and volatility, because when Venus is in Cancer, we also feel a kind of longing and a lot of emotional connection and emotional longing, but also a kind of sort of confusion around our boundaries. And Venus really benefits from having good boundaries and making good agreements, particularly because Venus is closely joined Mars, especially until, at least around the first or second week of August. Until then, we may feel kind of angry and frustrated about some of our agreements, particularly relationship agreements. Those are some of the biggest ones that we have. So expect that, a sort of longing, and then a sort of assertion of self-will, let's say, from September 16th, 17th, till around the 20th, and then for the next, several weeks as Venus goes into Leo. So after July 16th, Venus in Leo is very much about sort of like the queen who is demanding respect, right? So in fact, Venus in Leo does have a kind of regal sort of queen, vibration. So you can see that sort of affectionate instinct there. But again, it's also kind of like, you have to, get on your knees and praise the queen kind of energy. So again, our relationships may have that kind of quality, especially because it's closely joined Mars for much of that time, where Mars is ready now to fight to establish our boundaries. Well, this brings us to Mars, who is in many ways really driving a lot of the agenda this summer. He's in Cancer until July 20th. Now, he's debilitated in Cancer, where, again, there's a lot of emotion and sentiment that makes us somewhat undisciplined, but, sort of frustrated about that lack of discipline. But then he goes into Leo on July 20th, and now it's kind of like after several months, 4 or 5 months, at least 6 months even, of being, in signs where he's not so strong and powerful. Now Mars, the general, is in Leo, like sitting on the throne. He's like the king. It's like the general becomes the king. So there could be a pretty fierce sort of combative nature that emerges from July 20th, for a couple months into September. And this is shown by this Mars in Leo. And in fact, we have a pretty, there's a lot of potential for turmoil around the middle of August, especially, even a bit before that, when Mars becomes combust. So the combustion degrees of Mars is about 17 degrees. So the sun is going to move into the combustion degree of Mars around the middle of August. But again, even before that, we might feel and notice quite a bit of Mars frustration, again, because he's been in sort of difficult signs, at least for Mars. He was in Taurus, which is a sort of, peaceful and kind of domestic. Then he's in Gemini, where there's a lot of ideas. Then he's in Cancer, where he's sort of, he's in his debilitated sign because he's emotional. He goes into Leo, and it's like, okay, I'm back, and watch out. All of these agreements I've been making, now it's about me, and I'm ready to assert myself. So combine this with the combustion that's coming in mid-August, and it could be quite fierce this summer, especially August and into September could be pretty intense. There could be some social uprisings. We could see some real explosive things around the world. Any place where there's domestic difficulty and turmoil, again, we could start to see these mass demonstrations or other kinds of things like that in U.S. or around the world based on, politics or other kinds of things, especially as they relate to the government. And as I've already said, since Mars is joined Venus for much of this time, your personal relationships also could really have that sort of contentiousness. So there you go. These are the most important shifts and transits throughout summer of 2021. And again, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, share it with others, ring the bell to get updates, and also make sure to get the free webinar where I talk about the astrology that's going to happen between now and October of this year for all 12 signs, including yours. It's totally free. Just go ahead and register, and thanks a lot.